Alright everybody, welcome back. So I'm following up with the F16 build. It's completely coated in Mod Podge now. You can't even tell. If you look at it closely, you can see a couple of brush marks, but that's what it looks like when it's completely covered in Mod Podge. This is the matte Mod Podge, the gloss one. Obviously it makes it glossy and shiny. So I'm getting ready to glue on the control surfaces here. And you have to remove, if you want to get a good bond to the control surfaces, you have to remove the areas that have any extra paint. So this area here had a little extra paint. So what I did was I took a razor blade and I scribed around the control surface, and then I removed it just slightly by taking the razor blade and cutting off the surface. I did the same thing here. Okay, and you want to do that so you have not just glue here, right, but you want to have glue across the whole surface. So I left a little bit here. I have to take the rest of this paint off. You want to remove the paint so you get good adhesion of the glue. If you look inside there as well, you'll see there's a little paint. So I want to take that paint out as well. It's just overspray, but it could affect your bond. Same thing here. There's a little bit in there. You want to go over it all. There's a little bit in there. You want to go over it all. Make sure you get all of the painted surfaces, even on the rudder, like that right there. You want to get that off. You want to make sure everything's nice and clean. And then in here, for the rudder, where it gets glued down, I'm going to have to remove all of that paint right there. So I also like to go a little bit further than just removing the paint. And what I do is, I want to have a nice strong bond between the glue, right? So what I do is I'll take this little pry tool here, it's a little pick tool, and I just poke a tiny little hole, and I punch a bunch of those in. So what that does is it allows the foam to open up a little bit, and I'll do it on both surfaces, so the glue will actually penetrate into the foam on both surfaces. So it's something definitely, you don't always have to do it. I like to do it. You know, I want to make sure that if I take a rough landing or something, that this is going to take together. I want to make sure that if I do a crazy aerial maneuver or something, I'm not going to have my control surface fly off, because I've seen that happen before with foam planes. I've seen surfaces that weren't attached properly or glued properly come off in flight, and if that happens, it's over. So there you go, I just dropped something. I got to take that off. So I'll just show you how I do it real quick. Put the camera on the tripod, hang out for a second. And I will show you how I remove it really quickly. All set up. Alright, so take the razor blade that I can't find. Oh, there it is. To show you as an example. So you want to make sure you get all of the overspray off. I know it's a little meticulous, but what I do is I just take a razor blade lightly and I'll just trim that off just very lightly. Can you see that? There you go. And then I'll just take my little pick tool here and I'll just pick it off. There you go, see? See? Alright. But then, where was that piece at? Where was it? It was over here, this piece. So I did this to this whole surface here. This had paint on it here. So I took that off. So what I did was I just cut right on the lip here. Okay, I cut right on the lip here like that. And I flipped it over, I cut on the other side, and I did this on the larger surface. Okay, And you just want to take the very tiny little surface off of it. You don't want to cut too deep. So you got to be careful when doing this and pay attention. You want to make sure you don't take off too much foam. And my object isn't really to take off any foam. You kind of just want to get off the top surface of paint. See? And once you get it started, you can actually get under it and you can do a nice cut right there. Right there. See? Boom. Now that's off. And you have a nice clean surface for glue. And then what I'll do is, on this surface here, anywhere there's going to be glue, I still want to clean this up a little bit. There's another way to do this also. You could actually take tape and put a little piece of tape on the edge, rip it off. You just want to make sure, if you're going to do it like that, that's probably what I'll do down on the inside over here. But we want to make sure, if you're going to do it like that, you want to make sure that you scribe the edge, because you don't want to pull the tape off the rest of it. So you want to just scribe this edge right here. And you can see how thin, you can still see the razor blade, you can see how thin I'm cutting. I'm cutting very, very thin. Okay, now I'll show you the tape technique really quickly. So I have some of this tape left over from the Defiant build. And what you want to do is just press it on the edge right where you want to take the paint off, okay, and then just peel it off and boom, you'll take the overspray off with it. That's another good way to take some of this overspray off. But you got to make sure, like I said, you don't want to peel off the paint on the surface. One of the good things about doing this after you Mod Podge is you create a nice bond with the Mod Podge and the paint, and it makes it kind of harder to damage the paint. If you do happen to peel the paint just a tiny little bit, you can push it back down, maybe put a little bit of CA glue on it and hold it down, and it'll hold the paint back on just in case you lift it up. But there you go. And that's what we're doing here. Okay, flip it over to this side. There you go. And I'm not getting too much luck over here. This piece of tape is kind of spent, so I'll get another piece of tape. Okay. Alright, there we go. There we go. Now we're starting to get a little bit more of it. There we go. See? Starting to get it off. So, that's another quick way of doing that. But you want to make sure that you get any of that overspray off so you have a nice tight bond. And then what I like to do is I just take my little tool here and I'll just punk a bunch of little holes. And I'll do this until I have most of the surface poked and dotted. So now what'll happen is not only will the glue just sit on the surface, but it's actually going to sink into the foam a little bit, and it's going to create a really strong bond between the two control surfaces. There you go. And then this surface here, this goes all the way in here like this. So see that surface right there? That surface has paint on it. I already removed it. Sorry about that. I already removed the paint from the inside surface on the plane, as you can see, and I already pin dotted it. So I'm going to have to remove the paint from that surface right there. Sorry, I just kicked the tripod. I said I'm going to get better at this YouTube thing. I promise I will. So here you go. So I want to just get underneath it. I want to get a very light... I'm just going underneath the paint. I'm not cutting into the foam. You got to be very cautious doing this. You don't want to cut into the foam because that can make you line up, make the control surface not line up properly. So you want to make sure you're just doing a very, kind of like just peeling tape. Like you just want to get your very little edge in there, and there you go. See, I'm not taking off any foam. I'm just taking off the paint from the control surface. If you don't feel confident that you can do this without messing up, then I would try on a practice piece first. If you have a practice piece, maybe an old plane or something, or a broken plane. And that's it, see? That's what you want. Now that surface is nice and smooth. It's bare foam. It's ready to make a nice strong bond. And that's it. So this piece is basically ready. We got to do a little bit more pin dotting, peel off a little bit more of this overspray, and I'll get ready for this. You know, these are some of the meticulous things I do for some of these foam builds. You know, a lot of people say that there isn't much to do with foam, and you know, you're not really building much, but there's a lot of work that go into these planes. If you want to take care of them and do them right and have something that flies really good, there's a lot of work that goes into this. This isn't... I could just take them and just put them together and fly them, and a lot of them are really good right out of the factory, and there isn't a lot of work that needs to be done, but I want my stuff to last. I look at these as an investment. Horrible investment, but they're still an investment. They're still something that I have invested money and time in. And if I'm going to invest money and time in them, I want to make sure that they are operating at their very, very best ability. I fly my planes hard. I land them hard. I like them to last. I have planes that I've ran, 100 packs through. And that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I have planes that I've had, that I fly very hard for 5 or 6 years now. And they're still going. And, I have planes that I do this to that'll take a light tumble or a slightly hard crash, and there's nothing wrong with them. So this makes the plane stronger. This makes the plane be able to withstand a little bit more. Makes them a little bit more hardy. And I'm not going deep with this. I'm just going very light when I'm doing this. Very, very light. I'll go back over that with a little bit of tape, get the rest of that overspray off of there. Now these wings, this plane isn't meant to come apart. Once you glue the wings on it, it's meant to stay like that. It's a small enough form factor that you don't really have to worry about taking it apart. And what I'll probably do is use a little foam tack on this when I'm gluing it back together. And there's my phone again. But there you have it. Thanks for watching.